All right, so we're looking at Holy Mother in her life, Sri Sharda Devi and Her Divine Play by Swami Chaitanananda. A wonderful book, very readable. So Holy Mother's brothers were fighting, arguing about who served her better. And finally, one ends the argument by saying, "You don't understand how much devotion I have for our sister." Prasanna responded, "You can't respect her as much as I do. Only our sister knows, and I know." I don't know what to think of grown men arguing like that over that in particular, but there it is. And so it says that Holy Mother listened to her brother's arguments and she smiled. She later remarked, "My brothers are truly jewels. They practiced severe austerities in their previous births, so that I now live with their families. I have never seen such attachments as they have." When Prasanna lived in Calcutta, he made good money. However, he was very miserly and calculating. Once, when Holy Mother was in Jairambati, his 2-year-old daughter, Kamala, fell ill with a fever. The local doctor could not bring the fever down, and more money was needed to hire a better doctor. News was sent to Prasanna, but he refused to come and would not send any money. He thought that his sister, Sarada Devi, Holy Mother, would take care of everything. This time, Holy Mother did not tolerate his demands. She gravely remarked, "He has a child every year. Why will he not pay for his children's medical expenses?" Fortunately, Kamala did get well under the local doctor's care. So I kind of like this because Mother didn't pay. she, she knew that her brother was miserly and calculating, and he put his own daughter on a spot, thinking that he could kind of manipulate Mother into paying for the doctor and for the food. And Mother's like, "No, you have to take responsibility. If you're going to have all these children, you've got to take care of them." And so I think this is good because it kind of demonstrates, Mother's not, what is that called? Is it codependent? When you just simply can't say no, or you just take everything on yourself. She had a sense of responsibility, but she also understood the responsibilities of others and kept her boundaries well established there. So
But
it's,
Swamiji, but mother, from the background, she helped him by making sure that the daughter got well.
oh yes, no, she didn't withhold her part,
Yeah.
of loving and taking care for sure, but she didn't cover his part,
Yeah.
just because he wouldn't do it. It's good, these idea of boundaries are important in healthy relationships. Respecting each other's responsibilities, respecting your own boundaries, what you're responsible for, what the other person is, and to not cross over those boundaries without invitation. It's like respect each other's spaces, each other's duties, and whatnot. I was very curious when I first joined the monastery in San Francisco that it was not encouraged that you do your brother's chores to help him out. It's like if somebody was responsible for something, it was left for them to do. It was not considered a good thing for you to go and do other people's responsibilities. And I really, at least in the years that I was there, that was quite practiced, especially between the convent and the monastery. Also, that the boundaries were well established, and you know, I don't remember who told me that. I'm trying to think of the situation because I think I did it once, and Swami told me no. See, you should let everybody do their duties. Anyway, so there's Mother also holding that same ideal. It's wonderful to be helpful, but if somebody else has a duty and they're not doing it, you shouldn't just swoop in and do it, right? Because it's their duty, it's their responsibility, and it's better for their karma, better for their growth, for them to do it. One day in December of 1918, Holy Mother was seated on the veranda of her house in Jairambati. Suddenly, Kali Kumar and Bharata began to quarrel about a fence that Kali Kumar had just put up. The extended fence created an obstruction for carrying paddy to Bharata's farmyard. They were about to come to blows when Holy Mother jumped between them and grabbed each one of them by the hand, blaming them both for the quarrel. During the commotion, her veil fell aside and she did not notice. When some monks rushed to the spot, the brothers walked away to their homes, cursing each other. The mother returned to her veranda and suddenly burst into laughter. Very unexpected. Burst into laughter. What an illusion Mahamaya, the great enchantress, has conjured up, she exclaimed. Here is this infinite world, and what one claims as his possession will be left behind at death. And still, men cannot understand this simple truth. After she uttered these words, she was convulsed with laughter for quite some time. I love that. That's unattachment. That's not being attached. It's like she didn't take sides. She stepped in to stop the argument, but just really by just who she was, she brought to light how ridiculous that argument is. She doesn't lose sight of these important perspectives, the big picture. We're here just for a short time. Our lives are very short. And, the older you get, the more you realize how short they are. And they feel this life begins to feel really short. It's like you get to an age and you start calculating out, well, I've been in the monastery for 24 years now. And doesn't seem like very long. I still remember joining. But then when I add 24 years to my life right now, I'm going to be 84. In 24 years, I'm going to be 84. And I'm like, oh my God, it's almost over. I mean, that 25 years in the monastery just zipped by. And I've just got one more zip before it's sayonara, guys. We're out of here. Crazy thing. But see how Mother keeps this perspective, always keeping her mind wide open, keeping her vision wide open, not getting caught up in the small things. A very important skill, to always, when you're in a situation and you feel yourself being pulled in to a situation, stop for a moment, pick your eyes off of the small and start scanning the horizon and see, in the light of these things, is this really important? Is this really important? I've told this story before, but back when I was in college at Abilene Christian in Texas, I was on my way to a history exam, and it was my last final. And I had studied for all of the other finals. And when it came to, I had 7 finals that year. And when it came to the history final, I just blew it off the night before. I was like, I have studied myself to death. I can't do another one. I'm tired. So I just went to bed without studying at all for history of all choices. And so I'm walking to the history final and I'm sitting there trying to cram on the way, just flipping through the textbook, trying to memorize random dates and whatnot. And I was getting so stressed out. And then I just stopped, and this kind of happened for me. I just kind of stopped and I just thought to myself, dude, it's not going to help you to study right now. You're not going to memorize any of these things in any meaningful way. I said, just go in and take the exam. And in 5 or 10 years, this is going to be hilarious, regardless of how it turns out. And so I just went in and took the exam. I didn't do great on it, but I didn't fail. But it's, I look back on it and I'm like, that was pretty good, because it is a story I have told, a goofy story. And it's very good, as you see here in Mother's space, when you're in that kind of stressful situation. She's between these 2 grown men coming to fists with each other, and she stops the fight and then she laughs, thinks this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, because she had that broad view, that understanding things were in their proper place in her life. When Holy Mother was not in Jairambati, her brothers would write to her about their woes and their wants. Her disciples read those letters to her, and she dictated answers One disciple said to her, "Mother, please give them plenty of money and pray to the master about it. Let them have their enjoyment to their heart's content. Afterward, they will develop dispassion." Oh, that's an interesting statement. Mother replied, "Will they ever have dispassion? They will never be satisfied. Do worldly people ever feel satisfied? My brothers only tell me their woes. Kali always demands money. Prasanna is now imitating him. Only Bharata hardly makes any demands. He says, where will my sister get money from?" On another occasion, she remarked about her brothers, "Their sole thought is money. They only demand, give us money, give us money. Not even absent-mindedly have they ever asked for knowledge or devotion. All right, let them have what they want." Right? This is that in the world, when she's talking about worldly people, she's talking about people who are trying to fulfill their needs and their desires through their senses. People who are listening to the body and mind and trying to make them happy, trying to make the body mind content, which, as we all know, is really almost impossible. You get one mood taken care of and the next one comes along. You get one meal eaten and you're hungry for the next one. It's like it just never ends. And if you don't have discernment, that's what's missing. If you don't have that ability to go inside and objectively watch your mind and watch your body and at least temper them, if you don't have that, you can't get dispassion, because your desires just keep sucking you in deeper and deeper. They get more and more specific. They get harder and harder to fulfill, and more demanding. What you used to be able to get away with, having your cup of coffee, once in the morning, now you're having up to. I knew a devotee that drank 8 cups of coffee a day. That's how it goes if you don't turn on the discernment. Now, to his credit, I won't name who he was. The 3 weeks later, he had quit coffee completely. So he himself, his discernment turned on. He told me. I asked him about it. He said, "Well, my heart was starting to skip beats, and the doctor told me it was from all the caffeine I was drinking." So he quit cold turkey, didn't drink any more coffee after that. But see, this discernment is a very important thing, because this world, as it's set up, is quite cruel to the person looking for fulfillment in it, for the person looking to fill their passions or to fulfill their desires in it. It doesn't go easily. And if you're not paying attention, if you don't go inside and do that inner work, and every now and then pull yourself out of the pull of all of these things on your mind and on your body, you get caught up in a terrible way, because your mind will get in all different kinds of states, and the world will look completely different to you in each one of those states. And there'll be a different set of demand as you travel from one state of mind to another state of mind to the next state of mind. And not only that, but the conditions of the body constantly changing and the conditions of the mind constantly changing. If you don't do that inner work of separation to know I'm not the body, and to have that inner experience of it, not just philosophical, but that inner experience, no, I'm not the body and I'm not the mind. When they start harassing you, you can silence them, give them that, and give you your space, give you your peace, your ability to turn inward and to touch that image of God that is in you, that divine principle that lies within you. And that's where Mother says, take your refuge only there. Don't turn out to the senses. Don't turn out to the mind. You're never going to satisfy those things. They are hungry by nature. And the mind is outgoing by nature. And so turn it within and discipline it and find that discernment inside, so that you also can be stuck in a situation like that and then laugh. See how it is. Look at, I think it's so healthy to develop that habit of laughing, to look at your struggles and be able to look them in the eye and laugh at them. Just think to yourself, look how absurd this is. I'm 60 years old and I'm still dealing with this. It's like, just keep that mind big, keep that perspective wide, and see where things really are. Don't get caught in the minuteness of the struggle so that you feel like it's this big thing and that it's ruining your whole life and destroying your state of mind, which is what happens over sometimes the smallest things, right? So anytime you feel that constriction, that the mind getting small, your focus getting too small, and you're paying only attention to a little puddle of things, at that time when you feel that shrink, that what the opposite of expansion. Greg, what's the opposite of expansion?
Contraction.
Contraction. Thank you. This is going to get worse and worse, you guys. So when that contraction happens, learn to be sensitive about that. And at that time, step back from what you're doing. And that's you expand the mind, expand your perspective, remember the things, remember death, remember what's important, remember what your nature is. Remember that if you don't react or act with love and with wisdom, that it's going to lead to sadness at some point. So always hold on to that and live in that perspective. A compassionate and forgiving sister. Despite their greediness, once in a while, Prasanna and Kali Kumar had glimpses of their sister's divine nature. Once, Holy Mother wrote to her brothers that she was returning to Jairambati on a certain date. She asked them to send someone to help her cross the Amadar River. When Holy Mother and her companions reached the bank of the Amadar, no one was there to help. Somehow she and the others strode through the shallow river and reached Jairambati in the evening. While eating supper, Holy Mother asked Prasanna for an explanation. I informed you, but you did not send anyone to help me cross the river. Fortunately, these boys were with me. Prasanna replied, Sister, my fear of Kali kept me from sending anyone. You see, Kali would say that I was trying to win you over. Do I not know how precious you are? I see it all, but I am helpless. I cannot be nice to you for fear of arousing Kali's jealousy. Please bless me that I may also have you as my sister in future births. As for me, I want nothing else. Catch me coming to your family again, exclaimed Holy Mother. I have had enough of it this time. To come again to you? The idea. Wow. What an excuse, though. I didn't come to help you because I didn't want to make my brother jealous. What a weak and limp excuse that is. What a coward. I don't want to be in that situation, though. Another day, Prasanna said to her, Sister, I have heard that you appeared to a devotee in a dream, that you gave him initiation and also assured him of his liberation. You have cared for us from birth and have brought us up. Shall we remain like this forever? The mother replied, Things will happen as the master ordains. Let me tell you something. Sri Krishna played with the cowherd boys, laughed with them, walked with them, and even ate the leavings from their plates. Did they know who he was? Another time, Prasanna asked, Sister, we all were born in the womb of the same mother. Shall we not achieve anything spiritually? True, she assured her brother. What should you be afraid of? Narayan Iyengar, a wealthy devotee of Holy Mother, expressed a desire to dig a well for her on her family's land so that she could have good drinking water. Kali Kumar appreciated Iyengar's intention, but demanded 700 rupees for the small piece of land on which the well was to be dug, which was worth about only 15 rupees. However, the deal did not go through at that time for various reasons. Kali Kumar said to Brahmachari Bharata, You see, if sister saved the money that she receives from her devotees, she would be wealthy. But she spends lavishly for Raju and gives money away to her brothers. I am sorry that our sister is not saving anything. Can you tell me who gets the most from her? Kali Kumar was very calculating, but sometimes he understood the greatness of Holy Mother. Kali Kumar continued, You see, Bharata, our sister, is so respected because she has not the slightest attachment to money. Had she been different, people would not care for her. She is not a human being, but a veritable goddess. You are blessed indeed. You have renounced the world so young and are so devoting yourself day and night to her service. Kali Kumar was an interesting character. He was both a troublemaker and a troubleshooter. He was selfish and greedy, and he took every opportunity to exploit his sister, yet he always came forward to help her when needed. He was grave and serious. Nalini, Maku, Radu, and her mother were afraid of him. Whenever they got out of control, Holy Mother would say, "Call for Kali right now," and everyone would become quiet. One day, Kali Kumar said to the mother, "Sister, you now have so many members in your household, and your elderly woman cook cannot handle it. You need a male cook. Moreover, your birthday is coming. Many people will come, so a lot of shopping will need to be done. These young boys will not be able to handle it." Holy Mother replied, "Look, Kali, I'm surrounded by several women, so how can I engage a male cook? The boys who are helping me, remember, they are like my daughters. But you are right. We need a lot of groceries for this large household." In the evening, she said to Brahmachari Bharata, "Look, we shall have to give Kali the responsibility for shopping at the Kotalpur market. Otherwise, he will be angry and create a disturbance." Holy Mother gave Kali Kumar complete responsibility for her birthday celebration. You know, this is a very good management trick. If we could turn a discussion of the Holy Mother into a management trick. But this notion of, you pick the person with the most, causing the most trouble, and put them in charge of something. I worked at a children's home back in 1984 in Texas, and I was responsible for we had, I think, 15 kids in that children's home, and I was responsible on Saturdays for keeping them doing chores all day long. These boys were not happy at all about that. And I found that was the best way to do it, to pick the troublemakers and put them in charge of their teams. I would break them up in teams. And so I'd pick the most rowdy ones and I'd put them in charge. And then I would tell them, okay, the team that does work today with the least trouble, they get to go to 7-Eleven and get a slushie at the end of the day. Worked like a charm. So mother's pulling the same trick here with Kali Kumar, putting him responsible for the whole thing so that he doesn't throw a fit. Holy Mother gave Kali Kumar complete responsibility for her birthday celebration. With great enthusiasm, he did most of the shopping, and he assigned Brahmachari Bharata to buy firewood and spices from the market at Haligram. Holy Mother performed the worship, and the relatives and villagers enjoyed a grand feast. Kali Kumar supervised everything, yet he refused to eat. His feelings had been hurt sometime during the festivities. Piqued, he went to his farmyard and began to arrange his hay. He intended to teach his sister a lesson. Is this not just common human behavior right here? Have we not all just been in this situation? You get your feelings hurt, and so you pull out of the party, and you're just hoping that the right person is noticing, and you're going to get back at them, by making them feel guilty. Piqued, he went to his farmyard and began to arrange his hay. He intended to teach his sister a lesson. Despite her ill health, the mother could not rest until she had fed Kali Kumar, and she waited on the veranda with his food. When Holy Mother told Brahmachari Gopesh, later Swami Sarvadeshananda, about the situation, he rushed to Kali Kumar's farm and began to help him. He said nothing as he worked. Slowly, Kali Kumar's anger melted, and he said, "My boy, why have you come over here to help?" Gopesh replied, "Uncle, the mother is waiting for you with your food." "What? I didn't know that sister is waiting with my food. Let us go right now," said Kali Kumar. Right? What a wonderful, this brahmachari also, went over and didn't chastise him, didn't say, "Look, you're making mother wait. Why are you over here sulking like this? You're being stupid, you're being silly." Like I would have probably. No, he goes over and silently just starts helping him to get his work done, working side by side. And then Kali Kumar, of his own accord, his anger kind of receded, and he could see clearly. And he says to him, "Why did you come help me? Why did you come over here?" And then he tells him, you see, so this is how human relationships work when ego is in control, when under control. When you've got your ego under control, you don't have to be right. You don't have to make a point. You don't have to judge or correct. You just always are following that nature inside, which brings peace. You follow the path of love. You don't follow the path of the ego, right? Holy Mother was pleased to feed her brother and then went to rest. It is sad how she had to endure this kind of petty behavior from her family. Kali Kumar was very shrewd and took every opportunity to extract money from his sister. Once he took money from Holy Mother and built a big parlor on his property. He allowed Holy Mother to perform the annual Jagadatri worship in the parlor and also allowed her out-of-town devotees to stay there when they visited. Holy Mother was extremely careful about Kali Kumar, as he was very touchy. The caste system was followed rigidly in her village. According to that system, a Brahmin does not eat food cooked by a non-Brahmin. An elderly Brahmin lady cooked for Mother's household, but sometimes brahmacharis Bharata and Hari, later Swami Hari Premananda, helped her in the kitchen, even though they were not Brahmins. Holy Mother was apprehensive lest Kali Kumar should stir up trouble with relatives and villagers because non-Brahmins worked in her kitchen. She tactfully invited Kali Kumar to have dinner with her from time to time, so that he would not raise his voice against her household. However, one day her brother Bharata raised the issue and solved it with this remark: "Sister, these brahmacharins are your disciples and pure souls. If they cook rice, that is also pure. It is repugnant to eat in a hotel or a restaurant in Calcutta, and that food does not give me any satisfaction either." Prasanna and Bharata were very liberal and never opposed their sister's wishes. Land for the Mother's Temple. One day, in the winter of 1919, Kali Kumar was seated on Holy Mother's veranda in a joyful mood. The harvest had been very good that year. Sometime previously, devotees from Ranchi had brought 2 marble stones to be placed on the spot of Holy Mother's birth, but Kali Kumar objected. That plot of land was the joint property of all 3 brothers, so nothing could be done. Kali Kumar pointed to the stones which were lying nearby and said to Brahmachari Bharata, "You see those stones are lying there all these days and they have not been installed on sister's birthplace. If that land is transferred to my sister's name during our lifetime and a temple is built there, then everybody will be happy. It would be a joy to feed people who came to the temple. We should inform Sharat Maharaj, Sharadananda." Then Kali Kumar said to the Holy Mother, "Sister, I am ready to transfer my share to you. Now you need the consent of our 2 brothers. Sharat Maharaj will pay me as he thinks best. It is my sincere and heartfelt desire that this should be done immediately." Holy Mother listened and gave mild approval to her brother's decision, but did not show any eagerness. That evening, Holy Mother said to Brahmachari Bharata, "My son, please write to Sharat and tell him that Kali has said what Kali has said this morning. Since Kali is in favor of this project, I think it is not wise to delay. Kali creates obstacles. Because he himself has raised this issue, it seems that it should be done soon. Moreover, Prasanna and Bharata are now in Calcutta and they will not object to this proposal. You remember when Narayan Iyengar wanted to dig a well so that everyone could have good drinking water, Kali would not give his consent. The brahmachari wrote to Swami Sharadananda. The next morning, Holy Mother said to Kali Kumar, "Look, Kali, Brahmachari Bharata has written to Sharat and told him what you said yesterday." Kali Kumar replied, "Sister, you will have to arrange to give me some extra money apart from the estimated price of the land. My family is large and my income is small." Really, look at Mother's patience in all this. You know, she's sitting in there in the background, feeding all of these folks, taking care of all these problems, watching over their children, taking care of their health. You know, she's the source of money for so many of them. And she's fully aware of their greed and they're constantly putting out their hands for more money. And yet she's treating everybody with love and with compassion. You know, she doesn't want to make them angry. She goes out of her way to make sure that she doesn't disturb them or provoke, you know, their sensitivities. It's really quite amazing. I've learned a lot actually in the last few weeks that we've been reading this wonderful way of what it means to really love. Just watching Holy Mother, just so aware of everyone, their natures, what their soft spots are, what their concerns are, what their weaknesses are. Taking care of them when they're sick, sending them the right doctors, writing letters to get things taken care of, making plans in ways that will produce the most peace and run the most smoothly, taking into account people's dispositions. It's just a marvel to me. She was not an island. She was not aloof. Her heart was really engaged, and yet she had that dispassion. She never forgot who she was. She never forgot what was important, and that really allowed her to be able to really direct the life around her like a maestro. Just very in just a very skilled and insightful way, how she took care of everyone. And I've had it in my mind in these last few weeks to really try and open my awareness up, so that I get out of my own mind and my own problems and my own very small world, and to start becoming an ear to the neighborhood I live in, because I feel quite isolated. I don't really mix with any of the neighbors. I know some of them, but I just imagine that if Holy Mother lived in my house, that she would know all the neighbors, and she would know who their family members were, and she would know their dispositions, and she would know what their foods they liked and what foods they didn't like. And she would invite them over for eating, and be taking them medicines and vitamins and fruits and stuff for family members when they're sick. There's so much potential in us. This love, this image of God that's within us. It's not just for our own going and drinking and enjoying the nectar of bliss in our life. That well of divine love within you, we can draw from that and give to everyone. Use that love, just spread it and spread it and spread it. That's who we are. That's how do you have a fulfilling life. That's how you live well in this world. By really understanding what you have to give, understanding the nature of what Mother has placed within your heart, and to learn how to dip your ladle into that, learn how to use that, like Mother did. How she it was able to keep her mind clear, keep her perspective pure and true, and then to get in there and just care. Constantly be working, constantly be watching out, constantly helping out.
So
It's
maybe
really
when
beautiful.
Swamiji, it helps not to be too emotional. That's how you get little. She carried her duties to the very well, and yet was detached. So that kind of made it easy, the detachment part.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
if you get too
definitely.
attached, then you get entangled.
That's right. That's right. And that's the entanglement is why we do our discernment and why we do our practice, so that we can get that little bit of wiggle room, in there where we don't get a snap reaction. We actually see the hook, and we get a split second to decide, are we going to be hooked or are we not, you know? And so you can make that decision. Like Swami told me that one time, we had a young man join the monastery who had severe anger issues. I mentioned him quite a bit. I probably got more mileage out of him than I should, but he just had a terrible, terrible anger that could go from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. It was unbelievable, and I didn't feel safe. I really thought at some point he was going to haul off and smack me. And so I told Swami Prabhupada, I was like, I want to be posted at the retreat center. I can't live with this guy. He makes me nervous. I'm afraid he's going to kill me in my sleep. And Swami just looked at me kind of puzzled, and he said, why? And I told him, well, his anger is just kind of, he says, what of it? Can't you just see that that's the way he is? Let him be the way he is. You do not have to be, you do not have to react. You do not have to take in his anger. Let him be angry. You go on doing what you do. Do your duties, do your business. There's no need for you to let that anger affect you. And I was so taken aback for that. I was so amazed that that had not even occurred to me. It just seemed like an impossible situation. All I could think of was getting away from this guy. And what a simple solution. Just don't be hooked. You don't have to engage. Let the person be as they are. So if you know somebody that's annoying, if you know somebody that's always manipulating, if you know somebody that's, always inappropriate or what, let them be that way. Just know when you approach them, oh, that's the way they are. They're going to do that. Don't be provoked by it. If someone's got a short temper, let them have a short temper. Let it happen. You carry on. You keep yourself in that state of stillness, that state of love, that state of knowing and seeing, and don't get hooked into the world. This is how we learn to enjoy the world without getting caught in it. It's a
No,
wonderful
when
skill.
you say you be in the state of love, but love
Yeah,
for that person also is very difficult. Yeah.
it is, but you don't give love based on that personality. You learn to look at the presence within them. You learn to, by knowing it in yourself, you will assume it in them. So find that stability within you. Find that divine principle within you, where your love flows from. You know, if you don't know where that is, look at a picture of someone you love very much, and then sit and focus on that love, and follow it. Where is it coming from? Because it comes from your center. It comes from what you are. It comes from your nature. And so learn to live there. Follow that love to its source in the heart, in the shrine of the heart, and learn to live there and understand. And when you keep that awareness of the presence of God, that activates that love, as it were. It allows it to flow. And so you create that atmosphere within yourself, within your own mind, within your own body. Create that atmosphere that you feel in a sacred place, because the saying that the body is a temple, that's not just a metaphor. Your body is the temple, and your soul is divine, and it dwells in the body. And so all the sacredness that you can feel at a temple or at a holy site or a site of pilgrimage, that same vibration is possible for you to create within yourself by worshiping in your own heart that presence of God, and not letting yourself lose sight of that presence of God, so that becomes your experience. You carry it with you. I say that about Prabhupada every now and then, and I've mentioned it to you guys, that he carried his own atmosphere with him. He walked into a room and he was the atmosphere of that room. I remember Sunday, it was Super Bowl Sunday. We had like 21 guys there for lunch, and they were all talking about the game and speculating, where they were going to watch it, what they were going to do. And it was quite boisterous in the dining room with all those men talking about sports. And I remember Swami walked in from upstairs, just walked into the room. He wasn't paying attention to anything in particular. He just walked in the room, and that whole room of its own accord just went still. It's like everybody realized he had walked in. He carried that atmosphere with him, and it calmed everybody in the room. It was amazing to see. It was an amazing thing to see. And so we try and do that. We worship in our hearts, in our meditations, and in our quiet times. And any time during the day when we're not actively working on our duties, we reestablish ourselves there. Remember, do that scan. Think of death. Think of the universe around you and how big it is, and how teeny this body is. And remember these truths and live them. Don't just say, oh, we're all one, and think, oh, one day I'll realize that and I'll be in great bliss and I'll drool on myself happily then. That's not what it's about. Live it now. See that oneness and live accordingly. See that oneness and love accordingly. And so when you talk to people, practice at first imagining, because everything starts in imagination in this world. But from imagination, it turns to action, and from action, it becomes manifested. And so start practicing seeing this light of love, your beloved, in the eyes of others, and start seeing it in yourself. Just sit there at night and go into your most hurtful place, and know that that unconditioned love is there, and allow it to be there. Allow it to move in to your most reserved parts of yourself. Be full of that love. This is what it is to know God. It's to know unconditioned love. and to be changed by it, to be inspired by it, to transcend all of this small stuff, small nonsense, um, by knowing this. And we see it in the mother, you know, she just doesn't get caught up in it, but she doesn't flag in her duty either. She's completely aware of everybody's needs.
So, Swami, let me ask you something. So, what would Swami Prabhupada have said if the person was just the opposite? If they were overly friendly, would he suggested not, that you needed a lack of subjectivity in dealing with that person?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't have complained. If he was over friendly, I probably wouldn't have been too bothered by that.
Mm.
But Swami might have told him that one-on-one, might have told him be more, because I remember one time in at the Tahoe retreat, I was out on the back deck, and I was kind of in one of my little show-off moods that I used to get in quite a bit. I still get there every now and then, but and was telling jokes and just kind of holding court, as it were, on the back deck of the cabin. And Swami walked out there going somewhere, getting ready to go for a walk, and he saw me sitting there and everybody laughing and carrying on, and I was kind of making a spectacle of myself. And he called me. He says, Santosha. And he flagged me over. So I got up and I came over, and he says, show some discretion. I said, what do you mean, Swami? He says, what is this? You're sitting there making a flower of yourself for everybody to gaze upon. He said, show some discernment, show some discretion. And so I went into I left the porch at that point and went into the monastery. But, so that's probably what he would have said to him. Show some discernment, show some discretion. Don't make a spectacle of yourself. Don't.
Was that embarrassing?
What's that? Was it embarrassing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. That was the point. My ego was in full action, just drawing all this attention to myself. And so the fact that Swami, normally he would have probably just waited to do it later, but he had the tool match the task, so in front of everyone, he calls me over. Show some discernment, show some discretion. So this is the thing, always be on guard. That was the thing about Swami Prabhupada. He saw everything. He never missed anything. There are lots of funny stories about that. Holy Mother and her nieces. Holy Mother's household in Jairambati consisted of her three nieces, Radu, Nalini, and Maku, and her sister-in-law Shodabala, a woman cook, and some disciples. Radu and Maku had children, but Nalini was childless. Radu's husband, Manmata, and Nalini's husband, Pramata, also lived with her from time to time. One evening, Pramata came to Jairambati from Gogat by bullock cart to take Nalini to his home. But as soon as she saw her husband, Nalini closed the door. She threatened to commit suicide if she was forced to go with him. My goodness. She was ill-treated there, and her husband had financial problems and was dependent on his family. Holy Mother waited outside Nalini's door with a lantern for most of the night. Nalini opened her door only when promised that she would not be sent. Later, the mother remarked, Nalini does not want to go to her father-in-law's house. Perhaps she has a trace of her aunt, referring to herself. She has a trace of her aunt's dispassion. Nalini had a morbid mania for cleanliness and purity. One day in the Udbodhan house, Nalini cleaned the toilet and then went to bathe in the Ganges. This surprised Holy Mother because Nalini was not well. Holy Mother told her that she could easily have sanctified herself by sprinkling a little Ganges water on her head. She said, in Jairambati, I sometimes walked over dry excreta and then repeated Govinda, Govinda a couple of times. Immediately, I felt myself to be pure. Purity and impurity are both in the mind. Another day, Golap Ma cleaned the toilet, washed her hands, and changed her cloth, and then began to cut fruit for the offering to the master. Nalini said to her, Sister Golap, what is this? You better go to the Ganges and have a bath to purify yourself. Golap Ma replied, If you wish, you can go and have a bath in the Ganges. Holy Mother said to Nalini, How pure and high is Golap's mind. That is why she does not discriminate so much about purity and impurity, nor does she bother about external sanctity. This is her last birth. This is a very important thing here, this sentence there, that purity and impurity exist in the mind, right? They are not an inherent reality. They're an attachment. So Mother's saying that, that the high mind, Golap Ma's mind, was so pure that these common impurities didn't even occur to her. She didn't even see them, wasn't concerned about them. We get some of those extreme cases. We see that sadhu in Dakshineshwar that was literally over at the pile of trash with the stray dogs, eating the food from the trash pile. And Thakur at that time was mortified. He's like, "Oh, Mother, please don't make me like that." He didn't want to be that kind of sadhu. But that and when one of the disciples ran after him because he wanted some teaching, the sadhu was like, "Why are you running after me?" He says, "Sir, please tell me something." And what the guy told him, he says, when you can see no difference between the ditch water here in the sewer and the river water flowing in the Ganges, then you will know you have seen the truth. It's like, then you'll know. And so this notion, purity and impurity exist in the mind. And so don't hold on to your impurity.
It's not hygienic, Swamiji.
Well,
you cannot say they're the same.
yes, you can. You're not the body after all.
No, but the thing is that when we go to the shrine, we are supposed to be clean. We believe in, like they say, cleanliness is godliness. And the other thing is if you take dirty water and drink it and get sick.
Well, I mean, you do as you believe for yourself, and that's the way to go through, but don't push that on others, demanding that they act the same way. And for ourselves, understand that this is in our mind. If it's in our mind that we're impure, then yes, you have to go through whatever you need to go through to get rid of that. But understand that its nature is mind. It's in the mind, and you're not the mind. We don't need to get into the miracle mongering, but I mean, at that level, they're not under the same rules that we are. Our common definitions of what's clean and hygienic are quite different for somebody who's realized, because they're not the body, and they're not concerned at that level about the body. And they also have a great deal of faith. It's like you could look at Jesus as he's walking on the water, and you could say, "No, you could drown out there. You shouldn't be walking on the water like that. Don't you know that people drown? People drown in the water, And he's happily walking along. So you see, for folks at that level, even drowning or even getting wet while walking on the water is also mind. This is a big teaching. It's a crazy teaching. It's insane, really, when you begin thinking about it. But Jesus is not alone in these teachings. And we see these examples in Ramakrishna also, that this world is not as it seems. It is not as it seems. This world is dreamlike. It's composed of mind stuff, the mind stuff of God. And the rules are optional. When Jesus made that statement, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, which means if you can hold the conviction within you, just a little bit of conviction within you, and you turn to that mountain and say, "Get up and throw yourself in the sea." Jesus says, verily, I tell you the truth. So he's not just saying, yeah, it's an idea, it's an opinion. Verily, I tell you the truth. He's emphatic about it. This is God talking to you, saying, verily, I tell you the truth. That mountain will get up and it will throw itself into the sea. Right? So when Mother is telling us, she's giving us a clue here. All of these things are of the mind. Right? All these pairs of opposites are of the mind. And so she's yes.
I'm getting kind of grossed out here. But because to me, they're talking about purity. You know, you're not pure if you bathe the lepers, you know, but to me, you know, bacteria and germs, you know, we wash our hands when we nurse COVID patients. You know, we don't say, oh, I'm pure, I don't have to wash my hands. I think we're talking about two different things, maybe.
Well, we're talking at two different levels.
Yeah, they're talking about purity of mind.
Well, not just purity of mind, but she's not just talking about purity of mind either, though, because she said that she walked through some dry feces and she didn't feel the need to go bathe in the river. She just took Govinda's name and kept going. So it is true. She's just saying that the whole thing exists in the mind. Don't be overly fastidious about these things. Don't have hangups around these things. That's really what she's saying. She's not saying stop washing your hands before you treat COVID patients. She's saying understand that yes, you will have these ideas of cleanliness and uncleanliness, and you should obey them as long as your mind is in that state, as long as you are in that place. But understand, even as you obey your mind and you do your rituals or do your things, understand that it's in the mind, you know, and that it's not the end all of things, right? It's not the end all of things. It's like she's talking, you know, and it is kind of an odd teaching because we're not going to be at that level for quite some time. And so I'm not saying that you need to stop being clean or you should stop showering because it's all in your head. It's not like that, but understand that it is all in our head. And as we work toward that, these things will fall away. And so like that guy that was eating with the dogs from the garbage heap, he didn't have to worry about getting sick from those things because he was at the level of having faith the size of a mustard seed. You know, he didn't have to obey the rules because there were no rules for him, not because he decided it, but because he saw it. He knew it. He knew this world to be illusory. He knew this world to exist within him, that the world was subject to him. He was not subject to the world. You know, so when we get to that state, we'll see those things. But until we see those things, wash your hands. You know, keep yourself clean. Do what you need to do. But understand, always keep it in the back of your mind. I'm here, but this isn't the only reality. There are things in this universe very, you know, much bigger than they seem. And so don't get locked in to the world as real. Right? And again, I'm not saying don't wash your hands. I'm just saying
this guy was a superior soul who was eating the dirty stuff.
Yes, he was a realized soul. Yeah, he was a realized soul. And so, yeah. And you'll see that. You know, Thakur did crazy things. If you read The Great Master, I won't go into all the details, but if you read about his sadhana in The Great Master, he does some startling things that will offend anybody's sense of purity, you know, and he does it for that reason, to make sure that he can understand that these pairs of opposites are not real, right? So
yeah, he washed the bathroom with his hair, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things. he did a few other things, you know, we can talk about later on maybe, but not. Yeah, no, he really worked hard at that equanimity, you know, that equanimity of mind and seeing what is real Because if you try and do those things without it being your knowledge of those things, you're going to get sick. It's not going to work for you. Your mind is under those rules, and so that's the whole thing. It's like, it's like if you don't have the faith that God is going to feed you, don't test him. Right? And don't be like, oh, you said you'd feed me and then you didn't feed me.
Well, not until you realize the body is in the mind.
Yes, right. That's exactly right.
And once you do that, then whatever.
Right. Absolutely right. So we go on doing be where you are, but always keep in the back of your mind this understanding. It's bigger than this. It's bigger than this. So that you keep yourself in a non-stuck state, right? Understand this world exists within me. This body's going to go, and I'm going to see something significantly different from this reality, and so live as if you don't know everything. Understand that as our consciousness rises, as we become aware of our nature, and as we begin to get an understanding of the real nature of the world, the real nature of the divine, things are going to change for us. And so it's good to have that in our mind so that we don't get all hung up now when we don't see things as they are, when we don't have a full understanding of the nature of things. So be where you are, absolutely. Do what you need to do and what you think is right and what you believe to be right. Absolutely do that. And there's no belittling that at all. But as you do these things and as you obey these rules, keep your eyes on what is real, right? And know, yes, these things are important, but they're not that important. Yes, these things need to be done, but it's not an inherent truth. It's a practice. It's where I am now. But the sun will shine, differently at another time. And it will just keep us from being calcified, from being inflexible, right? Thinking that we know and that things have to be done this way. And because that's what Mother's pointing out. Nalini wanted everybody around her to be running to the Ganges every time they stepped on something. And Mother's saying, understand this is all in your mind, Nalini. Especially Golap Ma, she doesn't have to do that at all because her mind is not pure. She's not working on the same place that we are. So like that. So keep Thakur says that about a lot of things. Keep your Jnana, keep your knowledge of oneness. Keep your Advaita tied in the corner of your dhoti. Keep your knowledge of Advaita in your pocket. Even if you're a bhakta, even if you're practicing devotion, keep the idea of one without a second in your pocket. Thakur says so that you don't become a fanatic. Understand that ultimately all is one. So I may love Jesus. I may love Buddha. You may love Rama. You can't demand that I love this one and they love this one and this is the only one. He's saying, understand that this doesn't work that way. Keep your mind expanded. Understand. Do what you love. Follow your ideal. Absolutely. Be a Christian. Be a Muslim. Be whatever you are, and follow that. But always keep enough space in your room to know that God is bigger than you are. That God is bigger than your mind, so that you won't be a judgy, bitter person, a self-righteous, smug church lady or church man, as it were. So use these teachings to keep your mind wide, to keep your heart open. Don't become centered on the rules. Don't become focused on the do's and don'ts, because in the end, they aren't what get us there. In the end, it's grace, it's love. And so always remember at the end of the day, go to love. Go to love. Measure yourself by how loving you are, not by how pure you are.